All right, everybody. So I'm here with Annie Thorisdottir, and we just got done, both of us, well, her a lot more than me, just got done competing in the Rogue Invitational. You guys really just were put through quite a bit of a challenging 2 days, and you were fortunate enough to come in third, right?
Yes.
And so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So let's first kind of address that. So we're in Columbus, Ohio, and you just took third place after 8 events. And so how did you feel like the format was of the Rogue Invitational? Because unlike the CrossFit Games, it's like 5 days, 6 days, or unlike other invitationals where a lot of times they're Friday, Saturday, Sunday, this one was really just Saturday, Sunday. So did you like it? Was it too condensed? Do you think 8 events was good? What were your thoughts there?
I really like it. I like that it was just 2 days. And I really like having it condensed. I would have wanted it even more condensed, like less time between events.
You would have?
Yeah. One of the things I probably hate the most is the whole warm up and cool down.
Yeah.
So if you give me an event and then just give me like half an hour or something, break, and then just go again.
Yeah, we call it the hurry up and wait, right? Like,
yes.
You kind of get ready and then all that. Yeah, you just.
And then it's like, oh, do I have time to eat? Should I go and shower? Should I maybe take a nap? But I really like the format. I like that it was 8 events. I like that it was kind of like mini games, which is very good. Like, I haven't competed since the games last year. So this was really important for me to get ready for the games now. And everyone, like, all the best athletes are there. So you're getting kind of that feel without having the stress and the pressure of regionals. So it was that, it was kind of that mini games. Yeah, so it was really fun.
It was a huge testament to Bill, Katie, Rogue to have all of those amazing athletes come. I mean, you guys had the top of the top come from across. And so, you're competing against people that you're going to be very competitive with come, August with the CrossFit Games. So
exactly.
This was probably a nice, quote, warm up for that. So you should be pretty happy with your performance. I mean, you did really, really well. And so, you've been in the sport of CrossFit for, this will be your 11th or 10th?
10th time at the CrossFit Games, but my 11th year. I started 2009, and I started at the CrossFit Games 2009.
And a lot of people don't understand, I'm sitting across from you. You look super fit. You look, I mean, from my background, I know you missed the games 1 year because I believe it was an injury, right?
Back injury. So 2013 I missed because of a back injury. But
then you've been able to sustain at a really high level. I mean, you won the CrossFit Games. You've been at the top for a long time. Mm-hmm. What do you think you've been doing for the last 10 years that's put you in a position to not only compete but be very competitive and stay relatively healthy besides your back injury?
I think it's kind of cool to come into the sport 2009 because it's a relatively new sport and you didn't really know how to train properly, which is why after that year it was like, okay, so maybe you can do this sport for a couple of years and then your time is going to be done in it. But 2010, I got a coach. I was probably one of the first ones to actually get a coach, get proper programming. I think I just kind of developed with the sport. Like, I learned as the sport was growing, and I never thought I would be able to stay in it for this long. Honestly, when I had my back injury, I thought that was it. Everyone would get ahead of you. But it is so much about, we're putting our bodies through a lot, but it's so much about moving well. It's about getting to know your body. And then the most important thing is training smart. And I feel like that's something that I learned. I learned how to train smart. It's not about going all out every single day, hit that wall, lift more weight, do more workouts. It's about, at least for me, and I think for a longevity in the sport, you need to train properly. You need to push your boundaries. That's not what I'm saying. But I like data. I like numbers. I like knowing why I do certain things.
Yeah.
I like seeing the progress, and that's what's so fun with it. And that's why we work a lot with a heart rate monitor, and we do CrossFit is a lot about like that intensity, like going all out from the very get-go.
Yeah.
But what we forget to train is that lower heart rate zone, is that recovery. It's learning how to get rid of the lactate. It's about getting ready for the next event and the next event. So we do a lot of, low zone heart rate. We do a lot of medium zone heart rate. And then we do a lot of just, by doing the single modality things, it seems like you can get more work in without destroying your body.
Right. And so on a typical day, over the last 10, 11 years, I know it's probably changed since the beginning, but I mean, are you in the gym 2-3 hours?
No. I spend a lot of time in the gym, actually.
But like actually training, let's just say.
Actually training, I would say like my training sessions are 2 to 3 hours twice a day.
2 to 3 hours twice a day.
Yeah, that's my training session. But maybe one of the session is I obviously do mobility. I warm up properly. I think it's extremely important to warm up. And it's crazy how many athletes, even at the highest level, that do not warm up properly.
And so like, what would a typical warm up look like for Annie Thorisdottir? Like, what are you thinking about when you're warming up? What is your goal? I know movements are probably different each day, or is it the same? Or do you have a mantra?
I almost do the same warm up every single time I have a workout. I have the same kind of warm up. I do 3 minutes. I do 2 times 3 minutes at a lower zone, so like zone 2, zone 3.
And by now, do you just know your heart rate pretty well?
I feel it. I kind of know, like if I'm warming up on the assault bike, I like warming up on a bike because it's like easier for me. Like sitting on a rower, the back might be a little stiff, the upper back, the butt, whatever. Running, I feel like I need to warm up my knees a little and the joints. I want to get moving a little before I start running.
Sure.
So I warm up on a bike and I do that maybe 6 minutes then on a bike at a very low zone. And I know now what RPMs that is, but I always wear a heart rate monitor. I just like wearing a heart rate monitor. And then I do 4 minutes at a little bit higher zone where I'm creeping up to 3, 4. And then I do 2 minutes where I go high zone. Yeah, depending on what I have. But if I have a workout, like intense workout, then I always go to that high zone and I make sure that I get into the red. So I'm hitting like 165 to 175 heart rate. And then I'm sweaty. I'm nice and warm. The body is kind of ready. And then I start warming up the specific movements.
Wow. I think that's super intriguing because not only are you intelligent enough to be utilizing heart rate as an indicator of your performance, but you're also then holding yourself accountable to get it warmed up before you kind of full throttle. And I think, frankly, I'm really bad at that because I'll want to just kind of redline it. And I think that's one reason why you've probably been in the sport as long as you have. And so in addition to warming up properly and having these training sessions, overarching, have you put more emphasis into nutrition over the last 10 years or has it kind of been consistent over the last 10 years?
No, that's the same thing. That's definitely getting better and better with each year. I tried a lot of different diets and I had a hard time working with maybe paleo or zone. I tried the different things, but I had a hard time eating enough.
Yeah.
I was one of those that would forget to eat and maybe not choose the right things to eat. I wasn't really aware. I knew that I should pick clean products, especially when I started traveling. Most things are clean in Iceland. So it was easy there, picking like grass fat or whatever.
Yeah.
But I started being more and more aware of it. And then I would say for the past 2 years or so, after I started working with RP, then I kind of started becoming just as strict as my training. I obviously, every Saturday is a candidate for me. That's like the national candidate in Iceland. So I have ice cream or something always Saturday night. I get my treat.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I'm pretty strict to it. And that's more mentally making sure that I am putting in so much work at the gym. I'm so passionate about what I do. I'm not going to have my nutrition be something that I'm failing at because that's easy.
Yeah. You could. So you said that mentally, right? It's a big indicator for you because you go in, you're crushing and then all of a sudden you go in, you're looking at your food, and if that's not dialed in, mentally now you're looking at your performance, you're saying, okay, I'm dialing in the factors that are in my control.
Yes.
So let's talk about mindset a little bit. You've competed more than most people in the sport of CrossFit, and when I watch you stay composed. You've had great events, you've had some not as great events, just like everybody. What type of things, as you're kind of competing at the highest level, do you have a mantra you do before you get into the event? Do you have a pregame, anything in particular that you think about before you go out onto the floor? I mean, heck, you just finished an event like an hour ago. So
I still get really, really nervous. That's every time I'm competing, I get really nervous. But I do believe that it's good. I don't get too nervous. Sometimes I have a hard time eating breakfast or something, like especially the first day of competition.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's the belief that you have done everything in your power to get ready.
Right.
So you're ready at that moment. And there's nothing I can do at that point to be any better. So what I tell myself before an event is all I can do is my best. That's all I can do. That's all in my control.
Right.
And I try not to think about what anyone else is going to do. Obviously, I'm learning with the sport too, and I need to be more aware of my surroundings sometimes. But I know what I can do. I know my body really well. And then I owe it to myself to push hard enough when I compete, because I push myself in training. I know how to push myself. I know how to work hard. It gives me that satisfaction, like I do the work. And then in competition, I get to
express it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the worst feeling I've ever had was competing at the CrossFit Games 2016, because I was terrified that I was going to get a heat stroke again. So I got a heat stroke 2015 and withdrew from the games. And 2016, I had not worked through my issues. So I was so scared the whole time that the same thing was going to happen. So single time I came out of an event and I was like, I could have done more.
Right.
I could have gone faster. I just didn't. And that is probably the worst feeling you can have as a competitor.
So what did you do to overcome that particular case? So I remember, so you had heat stroke, withdrew, and then how did you overcome that in the future? Because that's a traumatic
That was a pretty
experience.
big thing.
Yeah. I mean, it must shake you, right? So what did you have to tell yourself? I mean, I imagine the next year and through competing, you probably built back up some of that confidence. But what in particular did you tell yourself to be able to overcome that?
Well, I knew that I didn't want to compete at the CrossFit Games again without working through this.
Right.
Because, you can't compete and not care.
Right.
You can't compete and be scared.
Right.
And like I said, I was miserable. And if I'm miserable, I'm not going to do this. I do this because I love this.
Right.
So I realized I had to work through it. So I started working with a sports psychiatrist.
Yeah, sports therapist, mindset coach. Yeah.
So I found someone that I trusted, actually someone in LA. So we started talking together on Skype. Well, I did this because my parents are amazing. They come to every single competition I've done ever since 2009. Every single competition, they've been there. And my mom was like, I am not watching you compete again unless you get help with this. Because they knew how I felt. They knew how terrified I was. And that's why I reached out.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think it was just talking through it. After the games 2015, I didn't even watch the videos of Murph. I didn't want to see any footage. I just didn't want to talk about it. I wanted to block it, move past it, and just work.
Right.
And that was not the right approach.
So by kind of bringing it to the surface and talking to somebody.
Just talking about my fears.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And that alone probably made a huge difference, right?
Yes. Yeah. That alone made a huge difference. And then just coming up with a plan. How can I do what I can to try to prevent this from happening again?
Right.
So that was what we did. I started doing a little bit more heat training and so on. So it was like just getting more tools. And I think talking to someone other than Frederick or my coach Yami, or my family, they love me. Right. They're going to tell me that everything is going to be okay no matter what.
Right.
I need an outsider.
Yeah.
I need someone else that's not afraid, someone that doesn't know me on that same personal level. And we've worked really well and we still work together.
That's amazing. Congratulations on that. I think you're totally right. Just by actually verbally communicating what you're feeling, what's going on, it makes a huge difference. And sometimes, or most of the time, my wife and I, at least we found, it's a lot easier when you talk to somebody who's outside your immediate. And so I want to kind of back up for a second because you said two things that really intrigued me. One is the support of your family. I remember actually seeing them at the 2009 CrossFit Games. But the other one is just kind of like this identity as a hard worker. That's super interesting to me because when I think about Iceland, when I think about you and Sarah and Katrin in particular, and there's many other Iceland, competitors, but when I think about you guys in particular, you guys represent to me grit, hard work, and this Dottir mentality, which I know you guys have recently shared on social media, kind of like the history of the word Dottir.
Yes.
And so what I'm interested in is, like, what is it like in Iceland growing up as a girl or as a man, woman, man, male, and what is that like? What is instilled in you at a young age? Because I get the impression, I've never been to Iceland. I know we talked about it, but I get the impression that everybody grows up like you're growing up and you're grown strong, like you're grown to work and to is that the way it is, or is that just my perception?
Obviously depends on where you grow up and your family and stuff, but yes, I would say just going really far back in history, it's in our genes. Like, if you were going to survive in Iceland, you had to be pretty hardcore.
What does the weather get like over there? I mean, California is really tough sometimes.
Yes, it is. Yeah. So we don't get like the most horrible winters. It doesn't get freezing. Like, it gets freezing, but it doesn't get like Canada freezing.
Yeah.
But it's windy. It's rainy. You can't grow a lot there. And your summers are, I don't know, not very warm. There we go up to maybe 15 degrees Celsius, 20 degrees Celsius for those that do that. I think it's like 70, 75 maybe.
Yeah.
On a very good day.
Yeah.
So it's
always kind of cold, always kind of windy.
Yeah. It's like, and it's dark most of the year. So you grow, like, people survived there for decades, living in mud houses and whatever, stone houses that were there. And women were just as a big part of making survival possible as the man was.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of been imprinted in the society. Women are independent. We've always been very far ahead when it comes to equal rights. And women, the voting rights came 1915, like very early on. And we had the first female president in the world, first female prime minister. Like, there's nothing that's going to stop women. There's nothing that's going to stop Icelandic women.
And so that's like kind of ingrained in your culture.
Yes,
so like when you're at school, it's very that way. Like, you can do anything you want to do.
It's a lot that way.
That's
anything
super cool.
you want to do, you can do. You just need to be willing to work for it.
Yeah.
And the way I grew up was a lot that mentality. I have 2 older brothers, and we started out by living in Vik, where there's like 300 people that live there. And it was so free.
I don't mean to cut you off, but you grew up in an area that there was 300 people living there?
Yes.
Like 300 total?
Yeah, 300 total. Like a tiny town.
You grew up in a town that had 300 people.
Yeah.
That is, wow. Okay.
So
you probably knew everybody.
Yes.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
My house was right across the kindergarten. I walked myself to kindergarten where my grandma worked. And like, that was the life there. And it was so free. We moved to the city when I was about 8 years old. And 7, 8, yeah. But my grandparents still lived there, so you would always go in summer there. And my dad's brother has a farm that's right by there, so you would get close to nature. You'll be close to animals. I learned how to hunt with my hands and pick eggs, and like, I learned a lot. I learned how survival works.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was, my dad has always pushed me to not be afraid, to participate in everything that's going to happen. He never wants me to miss out on an opportunity or regret something. So I feel like that's been very much imprinted in me since I was since I was very young. We did a pull-up competition. Like, my grandparents paid us money for doing strict pull-ups as kids.
What?
Yeah. So I did 27 pull-ups when I was 9 years old. I had 27 strict pull-ups. And like, because you got money for each pull-up that you got, and there was like always these I have a really weird family. There was always these challenges that we had.
The proof is in the, I mean, you guys are producing some amazing athletes in the CrossFit space, in particular, coming out of Iceland. And so whatever you guys are doing, I mean, I thought it was something in the water, but it sounds like it's something in the training methodology. And it sounds like something in the mindset. Right?
It's something in the mindset. There's just nothing that's going to stop. We are one of the smallest nations in the world, and we feel like we are the biggest one. Like there's nothing that's going to stop us.
One day I think you should run for prime minister of Iceland. But in the meantime, understanding that background and kind of where you got that from, I can see how it correlates so well in your training, right? Where it works perfectly. But I also see it carry over into other areas of your life. Obviously, you and Frederick have been together for a long time, and I imagine you kind of put a lot of emphasis in that relationship. And then as you've grown, you have sponsorship deals.
Yes.
Which is obviously, a way that CrossFit athletes support themselves. But you also, what is really intriguing for me, and I'm, obviously I like the business side, is that you started a gym. And your gym isn't just a regular gym. It's like one of the largest gyms in the country. I mean,
I think it's one of the largest gyms in the world.
In the world, that's what I meant. I'm sorry. In the world. And then in addition, you just started a brand new series for the CrossFit.
A sanctionals competition.
A sanctionals competition. And so can you tell me a little bit more about that? I could see where your work ethic comes from like training. But I'd like to hear where did this entrepreneurial side come from? Because as long as I can remember you, as you've, kind of came onto the sport, you've done a really good job of branding yourself, and you've done a really good job of putting yourself out there, and you're well-spoken, and you have an entrepreneurial spirit too. So where did that, does anybody in your family own a business? Where did that kind of come from?
Well, I've never really thought about it like that. But yes, my parents actually own a construction company.
There you go. Yeah.
And it was always my dad's dream. It didn't really matter what it was going to be. He was going to own something. He was going to own a company. He was going to run a company. And I've always liked numbers. I'm one of those that goes into Staples, and that's one of my favorite stores. It's like getting new highlighters and pens and papers. I know it sounds crazy. No, I just like folders. Crazy, yeah. There's something like in school, like finishing an assignment, and there's something that I love that feeling.
Fulfillment, yeah.
Yes. So I think I would be a great accountant or something. Yeah. I'll probably get really bored.
Life, huh?
But I like that. And I like thinking about the business side. And it was never even a thought process if I was going to have a CrossFit gym. It was just, so when are we doing this?
And so you launched it a couple years ago.
No. So probably after I won, probably after the games 2010, I started my first business. And then things happened, and I learned a lot. I got a little bit burnt, and I left that business, and I went over to CrossFit Reykjavik. And that was 2011.
Yeah.
Like
so you've
2011.
Had CrossFit Reykjavik for 5 years, or no longer than that, like 7 years.
7 years now.
And that gym is just exploding. And so you've seen tremendous success there, and your previous business didn't do as well. So I'm curious.
That previous business did good. It was just things that were...
So looking back on the business, is there anything in particular that you would have done differently that you could share?
I think you need to know your numbers. You need to have a plan, if that makes sense. So we were looking into changing housing, and the numbers just didn't add up. The rent needs to correlate to your goal for how many members you're going to have, and you need to put more into the company, if that makes sense. So it's not just about pulling profits right away.
Yeah.
It's about investing
for the future. Yeah.
Yes,
for sure.
exactly.
Yeah.
So making sure that I want to keep the people that come to my gym. I want to keep them happy. I want them to see what they're paying for. They're paying for good coaching, quality coaching. That's like the most important thing for me.
Right.
And then I want them to have the best gear available. That's what's going to come next.
Right.
And that's how we have grown. After I went to CrossFit Reykjavik, we played a lot with that's what I liked about it. We've played a lot with the different setups of classes. So in the beginning, we had it that you would just show up. There was always a coach that like ran you through the warm up, but you did the warm up at your own pace. So it didn't matter when you showed up during the day. You would just go into the first room. You would do your warm up there. And then whenever you were ready, you could go into the workout, like the next room where the workout area was.
Yeah.
And there a coach would start your class.
Okay, that's a different model than most CrossFit gyms use.
Very different.
Yeah.
And I felt like it worked well, but I wanted people to get a little bit more. I felt like it was too much like a factory.
Yeah.
I wanted more hands-on coaching, get to know people a little bit more. So we started having classes, and we started having them starting every 20 minutes. So you had to show up. So we wanted the flexibility. People can't always show up at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. Sometimes you might have to stay at work a little bit longer, but you don't want to have to wait 40 minutes. So we started having the classes every 20 minutes, and we still ran it the same way, but the warm-up always started every 20 minutes.
Right. So now it's a little bit more community-based. And so
yes.
with the current gym that has like 1,600 members and is doing great, the previous partners, maybe they just didn't see it the same way. Is that what it was? That you had this vision of invest and build, and maybe they wanted to pull and stay? Was that the big difference?
That was the big difference from the earlier place I was at.
Yeah.
Then CrossFit Reykjavik, we've always been very open when it comes to this, and they've had a very similar mindset. I think we just had a very similar mindset.
Yeah.
The three of us work really well together. I think we complement each other. I've heard a lot of people have a hard time when they're co-owning gyms. But we listen to each other. We give arguments on why things should be the way we think they should be. And then we test it. And we listen to our members. We've had members for years now. We're talking about people that have been at this gym for 8 years. And they're still there. And they're there for a reason.
Right.
So we listen to what they want, what they think works. So the system we have right now is that a class starts every 30 minutes, but you stay with the same coaches. So it happens in the same place. Thankfully, we have a big enough area. We've obviously grown, started in a garage, and gradually became what it is today. But now we work with classes start every 30 minutes, so you still have a flexibility. And we have 2 coaches in each class, and then we have a floater that goes as well. So we have 5 people always at the floor.
On the floor, yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
And we always have, what I think is really important,
No,
what I think is super important is that we always have beginner's course. So it's 4 weeks where you sign up for beginners and you're working with a coach for 4 weeks where we go through all the fundamentals.
Yeah, and they make a connection with the coach.
Yes.
And
teach them the CrossFit movements.
Yeah.
Like teach them. It's very intimidating to go into a class and you don't know the names. You don't know what's going on. It's like clean and jerk and pull-ups and like what? So we're teaching them. It's kind of like a level 1, except for they get to do a lot more movements. And then we give them home assignments as well. So you're starting to get ready to go into the big class. So it's kind of like that holding their hand and bringing them into the community, which I think is really important.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's very interesting that you had one business experience that didn't work out as well. But you shifted it. You found some partners who were like-minded, and you guys came together, and you're doing awesome things. And it sounds like communication's the biggest thing. And it sounds like just hard work. I mean, you guys come in, and you guys probably, I imagine, each play your part, right? You come in, you have a certain focus, and they each take on the others. And so while you have the business, while you are training so intensely going into the CrossFit Games, you also then decided to start a sanctioned event. And, I don't think anybody else but you, I think you're the very natural choice to do an Iceland event. But from what I saw just from online, it seemed incredible that you and Katrin were able to do like a exhibition quote, match there. And so what did you learn from putting on your first event? I'm just curious because the event seemed successful. In your eyes, was it successful?
Yes, it was. I think it was really successful. There's obviously things that we know now for next year that can become even better. But the schedule ran perfectly. Nothing caught fire.
Right.
But it was a lot of stress and it was a lot of hard work. And again, I just have amazing people with me. Like, yes, I made some great choices in partners there as well. So when I got this event in Iceland, I've been with the sport since 2009. I've gotten to see how it grows, and now I got to see how CrossFit has been growing in Iceland, and I got to be a really big part of that.
Yeah.
And now I get to bring one of the biggest sporting events in CrossFit to Iceland as well. So obviously I was not going to let that opportunity go away. But like you said, I'm really busy. I need to focus on my training as well. So I made sure that I got good partners in on this. So we obviously have the gym in there as well, but we need to make sure I'm not gonna make that come down on my gym that we're hosting an event. So we have to take in more people. So we're kind of like a group of 4 that made this work. I had a guy that was really good with marketing. I had a guy that's taking care of setting up all movies in Iceland, like movie sets. Like
Yeah.
he knows lighting, he knows sound, and he knows how to run a big event. And then a girl that I trust really well that has helped me put on some. We've played with a little bit the Wow Stronger competitions that we had, like small events, intense environment, and she was a big part of that. So she came in kind of in that running the competition side.
Right.
And seriously, it just clicked so perfectly. And I think there's definitely things, like I said, that can be better and that we learn from, and things that we wanted to go better. But I think spectators had a good time. I think people competing, I heard great things from them.
Yeah.
And people that were watching the live feed, I got great feedback. And that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
So that's the big part.
experience.
And then we can learn as a business more things.
Right.
This is not a very successful business yet.
Right.
There had to be an investment. And I believe in an investment so that you can make this into something even better.
Yeah.
And we invested in the future. And I think it was shown on national TV in Iceland, by the way.
Wow.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It was shown live on TV. So TV broadcasting was there.
Yeah.
And it got crazy views. So viewership was super high on it, higher than on the semifinals in soccer, which is amazing.
That's huge.
So that was huge for like Iceland. It showed how successful that was.
You sound like, I mean, just you seem very passionate. You take a lot of pride in your country.
Yes.
And I think, what I gather from a business side of Annie Thorisdottir is that you delegate, it sounds like, and you surround yourself with really great people who are competent in what they're doing. And that's a super great attribute that you have. And one of the things I want to talk about is with Katrin and Sarah. Specifically, Katrin, it seems like you and her have a really good relationship, and not just like a friendly competitor. Like you actually seem like you guys are close friends.
Yeah,
and that just must be so tough because how do you compete against somebody that you really want to beat, but like are really good friends with them as well, but do it like professionally? Like it's not like you're like messing around. Like this is for a lot of people, this is a big deal. I mean, this is a big deal.
Of course, this is what we work for. This is our life.
Yeah. So how does that work? Because that dynamic.
I think the most important thing, it's respect. I think I respect Katrin. She respects me as an athlete. Yes, we want to win. We always want to win. But I want her to be right behind me. I want her to be second place.
Yeah.
So, and she has the same feeling. So it's a mutual respect. We know that we can make each other better. So why shouldn't we? She was one of my first clients at my first CrossFit gym that came into the gym. So I started off as her coach.
Yeah.
And then we had a little time where we were apart. And then we've just enjoyed each other's company and training together for years now. It goes further back than just competing at the CrossFit Games.
Right, because she was your client, and
yes.
she was training at your gym for some, and so that friendship that you guys have, and even with Sarah as well. What do you guys see yourselves doing with that?
I need to say, like the thing with Sarah.
Yeah,
she's obviously a friend as well. So I think it's sad when people are like, we're leaving Sarah out. No, we're not.
Yeah. It's all the daughters.
It's all the daughters, but it's different. It's not like, I really like Tia as well, and she's also my friend. And I know that Tia and Kara are friends, but they don't live as close to each other. They're not training at the same gym. It doesn't mean that they're not friends.
Right.
It's the same with Sarah. She's my friend, but you can't be best friends with everyone.
Right.
And me and Katrin, we've just been training together for years, and I respect Sarah so much, and I'm so proud that she's there as well.
Yeah.
And I love competing with her. But it's, yeah, I just want to have that clear.
Yeah,
it's
I
all
get
the
it.
daughters.
No, it's all the daughters. So with the daughters moving forward, we all saw this social channel, and your passion behind Iceland, your passion behind bringing the sport, and your passion for hard work. I mean, it boils out of you.
Yes.
What are you guys going to do? I mean, you could do, you seem like you want to like start a movement. You want to start the daughter movement, and you already have. I mean, you've been putting the foundation in for a decade. It's not like you just came up with this concept yesterday.
Definitely not.
And so
it's
with
something
the daughter,
we take
where you guys
pride
want to
in.
go? Yeah. And I mean, because daughter, you guys, where do you guys want to go with it? What do you guys want to do?
We have a lot of ideas. We've been, like you said, we've been promoting Dottir for a real long time, and it's been cool to see how it's been growing, how people now know how we do the last names. Like, yes, the Icelandic daughters, and that's so cool. So obviously we started doing the shirts with Rogue, and just, I can't explain. Yes, obviously I get really proud when someone is wearing Thorisdottir. Like, you can't get any closer than that. But seeing so many people representing Dottir,
Right.
it's crazy to me.
Yeah.
It's crazy that we're getting to do that, and people talking about their kids as a daughter, their little girl as Dottir, and telling me what their last name would be if they were in Iceland. It's just so cool. So, yeah, we got some ideas. I'm not going to tell you what we're going to do
it's
exactly, but me and Katrin, we're going to do some very cool things that I really want to share everything with you, but
Hey, I guess we'll have to wait
we're
and
going to
see.
have to wait, but you're going to see some very cool things coming out with
And I look
Dottir.
forward to it. I mean, Katrin has her book coming out.
Yes.
And you know, what are you focused on over the next 6 months? I mean, obviously you want to get some, it sounds like we're going to see some Dottir, something going on there, but
It's more than just merchandise. I want this to be, I feel like the power that we've gotten, I feel like, yes, I love training. That's my number one. I love training. I love getting fitter. I love pushing myself and pushing my boundaries and becoming a better me. But there's a reason I have my gym. I love spreading it. I love sharing it with other people. I love that my whole family does CrossFit and it's making their lives better.
Right.
You have no idea. It's the best thing when someone comes over to me and says that I changed their life,
Right.
that they started training because of me. That's crazy that I'm getting to affect people that way. And I want to do it to a bigger scale. I want to do everything I can to help more people. I think it's amazing that people are finding fitness fun. It is fun, but it's amazing that they're finally realizing it.
That's right.
And that's what I want to do. Honestly, that is my
That's your
mission.
vision. Yeah.
I want to do more. I want to take it further. I want to influence more kids in loving exercise. What I got to do as a kid was amazing. It made training fun. It made being strong fun and cool. And I want that for other people. I want more people to experience that. So that's the goal.
That's your vision.
That's my vision.
And then the vision is
Teaching
to
what
win.
I've learned. I've learned so much.
Oh,
like,
I'm sure.
With
Well,
all
you've
these
learned-
years, I have I'm not going to tell people secrets until I'm done competing, but I've learned a lot, Jason.
Well, no, you're a very smart competitor. I mean, just from this conversation, obviously I've known you a long time, but you approach things very methodically. You know, obviously with the help of your coaches, you've been able to put together a plan. I mean, you think things through. You're obviously an entrepreneur. You surround yourself with great people. You have a lot of attributes that people aspire to be like. And your passion for Iceland is super, super cool. And I can't wait to see what you and Katrin do with the Dottir movement and what else you guys could do to impact more people. But in the meantime, you've impacted a lot of people. I still remember the first time in Aromas I saw you and you couldn't do a muscle up. And I think, did you end up getting one?
I got one.
Yeah, you got one.
And then Dave came okay, you should stop now.
Yeah. How long did you try and get a muscle up for?
Um,
There.
there,
Yeah.
I don't know how
Like,
long.
at least like 10 minutes or whatever it was.
Yes, it felt like an eternity.
If you're listening, you
I
haven't
just
seen
really
this
wanted
video
it.
from the 2009 CrossFit Games. That was the first time the world, or at least the CrossFit world, had exposure to Annie. And I was just so impressed by the tenacity to keep going until you got it. And that's just kind of shined through for the next 10 years. And so,
Honestly, that's what made me fall in love with the sport.
Yeah.
Seriously.
was that community, that
It was that
energy?
feeling. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Everyone was trying to help me out.
Yeah.
I've been in a lot of sports, but I've never had that.
Yeah.
I've never had people in the audience giving me tips, my judge cheering me on,
Right.
my competitors trying to tell me how I would be able to do this, and I finally found something that broke me. I couldn't just muscle my way through it. I am so grateful that I only got that one. I am very grateful that I didn't manage to finish all 10 and finish that workout, because that one lit fire in me. It was like I hit a wall. It wasn't, obviously, it's very impressive that I got that one, and that's what people look at and think is amazing. For me, I finally did something that I couldn't do.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it was a success, but it wasn't.
Right. 'Cause
I
coming from
lost my
Iceland-
second place.
Right. Coming from Iceland, were you normally performing well in everything you were pretty much trying?
As long as I put my mind to it,
Yeah.
I would do it. I would just work until I would get in. I work for that 10. I work for that rep. I work for that win. And there, it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
I needed more skill. I needed more. And that was what lit something in me. I was like, I found my sport. I found what I'm going to do.
That's really cool.
It was pretty cool.
Well, I love that. Well, Annie, look, it's late at night. You got done competing in the last couple days. I'll let you go, but I think that was a really beautiful note to end on. I really appreciate you and Frederick taking the time to come sit down.
My pleasure. This was so fun.
If people want to find out more about Annie Thorisdottir and find out more about what you have going on, where should they look for you? Where should they go?
Well, probably most of my life goes on Instagram.
Instagram, okay.
Annie
Yeah.
Thorisdottir on Instagram.
Annie Thorisdottir on Instagram. All right.
But yeah, then we're just going to have to sit down again and talk some more.
All right. Once you roll out your daughter's plans, I will be there and ready to talk.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you again.
Thank you.